being an entrepreneur is hard because we don't shut off, So when, people in a typical job, they clock out, they can shut off and they can focus on, whatever's after the 5 o'clock, so to speak. But as entrepreneurs, our brains don't stop. We're constantly thinking about getting our products in front of our audience and creating new products and serving our people and moving the business forward. And so our brains, we never shut off. So it is hard. It is hard. And I think the other side of it too is as entrepreneurs, we feel the weight of responsibility. We're responsible for certainly our own families and putting food on the table. When we begin growing teams, we're responsible for a lot of other people and their families. And then we have the responsibility to our clients and our customers, so we wear that a lot. So being an entrepreneur, it is hard in many different levels. But the other side of it is that it's also tremendously rewarding. As entrepreneurs, we have opportunities available to us that aren't available to everybody. For example, one of the main reasons when I was young that I wanted to become an entrepreneur was that there was no limits on how much we could earn. So when I was in my early 20s, I was just great, I can make a whole bunch of money. That's awesome, and that was the focus. And then that shifted though, because that was certainly my reasons in the beginning, and I was very, self-centered in a way. But as I got, I would say, more mature and did experience more progress, I think my wife was the one that really opened my eyes to the bigger opportunity as entrepreneurs is that when we don't have any limits on how much we can make, we therefore have no limits on how much we can give and therefore the impact we can have. And I got connected to that in a real big way, and it completely transformed me as an entrepreneur, because before I used to feel guilty about making money because it did feel self-serving. And I struggled with it for a long time until, Amy helped me connect to a much bigger why. So that's tremendously rewarding when you can begin having huge impact on people and causes that you're passionate about. And then I would say, as we got better and better as a company in being able to serve our people, what I take tremendous pride in and get tremendous satisfaction from are the results that we're helping people get and the ripple effect that that's having in their lives. That's what creates meaning behind our work. And the more we do that, the more meaning that it creates. And so I'm deeply connected to that. But with all of that said, it's inevitable that you will have moments in your entrepreneurial journey where you're gonna have second thoughts. In that moment, I remember asking myself, why do I do this? It would be so much easier just to crawl up in a ball and build a business where I'm not front facing, I'm not in the general public, in the public eye, and not interacting with the public, so that I can have a private life and not have to deal with that. And it had me questioning a lot of things in that moment. And I think anytime you're an entrepreneur and you're in those moments, because we all have them, when we ask ourselves that question, why am I doing this? Why am I staying up late? Why am I getting up early? Why am I, trying to figure all these things out and managing and dealing with the stress? Life could be easier and less stressful if I just went and got a job, right? And so when you're experiencing that, the best thing that I could recommend is, number one, do something that creates positive energy for you. Whether it's just quick 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, but you got to do something to snap yourself out of that negative energy. So for me, it's 100% listening to music. There is certain music for me that immediately changes my feeling and gives me energy. Another thing for me is jumping on the Peloton. I don't know what it is about, moving my body, whether it's on the Peloton or whether it's going for a run on the trail, but movement, gives me energy. So when you're having these moments, first things first, you got to shift the energy away from the questions full of doubt and fear and the questions that give you anxiety and stress, and you got to shift the energy to something that's positive, that gives you, a more positive, frame of mind. And then the second thing that I do that's like, for me, is my go-to is we have a kudos channel, where we track all of the progress of our people. So when our people are like posting results in the community, we take screenshots of it. We post it in this Slack channel. And it's called Tribe Kudos or Searchie Kudos. And in the moment, like when people are posting these things, they always feel good. Like, oh, look at what Julie just did, or oh, look at what Heidi just did, and those feel great. But what feels even better is when you're having these down moments and you go back into that Slack channel and you start to see the impact that your work is having and the positive results that people in your community are getting. And what it does is it helps connect you back to the bigger why of why we're doing what we're doing. That is a home run for me, because when you get deeply connected to that bigger why, all of the things that typically would stop, quote, normal people, they don't stop us as entrepreneurs, because we're connected to a much bigger why. And then the final thing that I do when I'm experiencing that and I'm in those moments is I just get real clear on like, okay, what's the next right step? Like there's 1,000,001 things that we can do, but what's the next right step? Because you can't create momentum without taking that first step. So you got to start somewhere. And sometimes that's like, the most simple, thing. Like I remember one of my friends and mentors, Michael Hyatt, was telling me like, when it came to writing, a book, writing a book can feel like a big daunting task. But one of his first steps is just to simply create the Word doc file. That's it. Like that's a simple first step. And then his next step is just to create the sections for each of the chapters, right? And what does that do? It begins to create momentum. Even though like the steps may seem insignificant in the moment, but they get you moving forward. And I think that as entrepreneurs is really important, because we can hum and haw and all of that stalls our progress. But if we just get real clear on like, what's the next right step? Like bare minimum, what's the next right step to move forward? Then that in and of itself begins to create momentum. So I love to shift the energy away from negative to a positive. Whatever you do whether it's music or movement or exercise, whatever it is, or getting around people, like kids give me energy. My kids give me energy. Like that's a go-to for me. But you got to shift the energy from a negative to a positive. Second is, really connect with your bigger why. Like the way in which we do that, and I do that, is I drop into our Kudos channel and I look at the progress that our people are making, and it really reminds me that our work matters. And I'm much deeper connected to that bigger why. And then the third thing is I just get real clear on like, what's the next right step? There's 1,000,001 things that you can do, but what's the next right step that's going to allow you to continue to move forward? When you do those three things, you'll find yourself out of the funk, you'll be a lot more focused, and you're beginning to get right back on the path of creating that momentum.